Good morning, Rotary Club of Centennial.
Good morning.
Welcome back to 2020. Back to the future, right? Eric, I have that you have our pledge today.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and
Justice for all. Catherine, you have our inspiration.
Sure. We'll bow our heads. Father God, we just thank you for the new year that you brought us through, and for the year that you have planned for us. God, as we count our blessings, let us stay humble and remember to be good stewards, and remind us that we are blessed to be a blessing to others, and to whom much is given, much is expected. So God, we thank you in advance for what you will do with our talents and our time. And God, thank you for the community that's around us. In Christ's name we pray, amen.
Great, thank you. Please take your seats. Mr. Bellum, I have that you are our Rotary Minutes. John Bellum. Yeah, well, you put yourself down, so I'm assuming that's correct.
I'm thinking here because I didn't know I was the Rotary Minute, so this is what this is. Anyhow, Rotary is a great opportunity to meet, and this is a good one, to meet and to learn more about our community and our fellow folks. And so often, in the case with our speaker today, Maury, Dean, asks how long have you been part of Rotary? And I always have to kind of think to myself, it seems a lot longer than it actually is, but that's really a good thing, as I've been in Rotary now coming on my third year. Just because in that time I've been in 2 clubs. This is the best one, as always. But at the same time, I've just had so many opportunities to engage with my community, to really be a part of a bigger community. And when I was sitting down next to our student, the father of our Student of the Month, Kenton, he had never heard of Rotary. And part of the Student of the Month now is we really give him a big information thing. We talk to him about Rotary. And I just went and talked to he and his wife about all the incredible things we do. First and foremost, a lot of it, polio. And they were just blown away. And it's all of you will know just how often you run into a person who still doesn't know that polio is out there, right? And so, as always, this is just such a great opportunity for me. And as I go into my 4th year of Rotary here sometime this year, just having such a great experience giving back to the community. Thank you. That's my Rotary Minute.
All right.
That's
pretty good for impromptu. Thank you, John. That's always a good reminder. I want to thank you to everyone that came early, especially after having a few weeks off. So David Livingston for setting up. Karen Fleck, I have that you are here. You will be taking down. Thank you so much for that. Trip for greeting. I always love it when you're around. Where are you? Wherever he is. I love it when he's around. Too bad he's not here right now. Inspiration, Catherine, thank you. And of course, thank you, Eric, for the pledge. And of course, those who will be doing Happy Bucks, and Wes, and Rob Johnston for the Blue Marble. I just really appreciate you coming early and helping out with all of that. Do we have any visiting Rotarians? No? Any visitors? I was like, I know he's behind the pole. I can't quite see him.
I'd like to introduce Ben Dengrink, my son-in-law. He's you can tell him.
Well, besides being Phil's son-in-law, which is a job some days, I'm the manager of strategic analytics for HCA Health One here in the Denver area.
Great. Well, welcome. Thank you so much for coming.
You.
So we have no birthdays for the coming week or the past couple weeks, but we do have spouse birthdays. So I know Paul celebrated his wife's birthday January 1st, Diana Fritzler, and then on today, Cheryl's husband Al's birthday, right? This is based on my information. So happy birthday to him. We have a few wedding anniversaries. A few days ago, Ann celebrated 29 years. Is that correct?
Who?
Ann West?
Yes.
Yes, 29.
Sunday.
On Sunday. Congratulations. We have Jay-Zing that is celebrating 28 years on the 11th, so say happy anniversary. Help remind him to get something nice for his wife if you see him. And we have a few Rotary anniversaries coming up. Well, I guess this month. We have Diana Hall celebrating 2 years.
Who's she?
It says 2. I said that was wrong, but
It feels like it's been 20.
I know. Well, we're not going there. We're not going to go how long it feels. Right. We have John Barry celebrates 9 years, and Phil Chaporis 9 years as well. Is that correct? 9. So congratulations to you all, and thank you so much for your membership.
It was almost 3 years ago.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, okay, well. You just look younger. Maybe that's it. So we have some club business. We don't have a whole lot, and no one has come up to add to the list, so this may be a short meeting. I know that we did some jackets and books stuff on the 3rd. Does anyone want to talk about that? Tom?
Okay, so books and jackets, I know because we've had missed 2 meetings and there's been maybe some confusion a little bit or lack of total communication about it. But last Friday, we did our initial shopping trip to Burlington Coat Factory, which was very successful. I think there's 12, 14 people there. Thank you all who came out. It's a bit of a logistical challenge shopping for 73 kids, trying to get the right sizes and let alone color preferences and things like that. But at the shopping event at Burlington, we successfully purchased about 70 jackets and then many boots and quite a few hats and gloves. We'll be purchasing hats and gloves and winter socks in bulk online, Amazon, something along those lines, and additional boots. We're probably going to go back to Burlington tonight when they get another shipment to get the remaining coats. So we're on our way as far as that goes. The second part of this project is books. The school, Crawford Elementary School, has given us a list of about 350 books, about $3,000 worth of books. So Sarah from the Satellite Club is going to be taking the lead on getting those ordered through Scholastic and Amazon. And then we're creating labels that we're going to be putting in the books. So the Satellite Club is kind of taking the lead on that. And this is some of the folks that were with us. Trip was there. Not
Is
sure.
that underwear?
Not sure what he was purchasing there, but
That's when I find out there wasn't an open bar.
but no, it was great. It took about an hour and a half, 2 hours of shopping to put together bags of clothes that we now have 73 bags of clothes in my home that we'll be transporting to the school. So thank you for everyone that came out. It was, I think it went pretty well. It was a bit of an effort, but we figured it out. And first year around, you always refine it going forward. Alan Jackson was there. And then, loaded up all the bags and took them to our house. So the event itself is going to be on the 22nd of this month. And this is at Crawford Elementary School in Aurora. I'm thinking that maybe we'll try to do a carpool if people are interested. From here, parking is somewhat limited up there, but the event will start about 4:30, and we're looking for people that are willing and interested to read to the kids, maybe about 7 or 8 reading groups, breaking the kids into about groups of 10 or so. So we already have some volunteers, but if you're interested in dressing up in a theme and reading a book to the kids, please let us know. So Sarah has been sending out emails with sign-ups. If you're not into emails, or you haven't gotten them, or you prefer to just sign up manually, just see me or Mark at the meeting, after the meeting today. So we'll need volunteers on the 22nd. If whether you're reading or not, please come out. Like we talked about in the past, it's really important that these kids just see the support and interest in them from our club. So that's the 22nd, and we'll work on potential carpool. Mark, am I missing anything? Okay. But yeah, thanks again to everyone that came out and shopped. It was a really fun evening. One of the things I really liked about it is when we first got there, there was a young lady that was our designated cashier, and she was very standoffish. I don't think she really knew what to expect from me. By the end of the night, she was high-fiving, and she was so excited about this project. They were all so excited about this project. So my hope would be maybe someday she'll be a Rotarian because she'll remember how good it felt to be part of helping this shopping project, because they couldn't have been more cooperative and more enthusiastic at Burlington. So anyway, thank you.
That's awesome. Does anyone have any business they would like to share? Deb?
I'm still in touch with Will from the Avalanche, and there will be a couple of games where we're going to be doing fundraisers. I'll get more details to you as it comes closer to the time. But do people just want me to pick a couple dates?
I thought he already picked a couple.
Well, he did. Excuse me, he did, and then I just need to confirm him. So if that's okay with you guys, Will was just going to pick probably when we would win, and or what would be a really, really good team. So keep those dates in mind. He couldn't come today, but I want to get him back here so he can really explain how the fundraiser works, and it's not that difficult. So I'll be, stay tuned for that.
Perfect. Great. Kathy?
I went to decorate the Rose Bowl float parade, and I cannot recommend it enough for anybody that wants to do it. It's you simply sign up. Just to give you, for instance, the local club was supposed to have 14 people there. 4 showed up. It's kind of blasé to all the people out there because, you know, it's every year. That's just something that they take for granted. So they do need helping hands. You're working in a barn, or they call it a barn. It's a big warehouse of 12 other floats. So if you don't have the opportunity to work on the Rotary floats, say more people actually showed up. The other way, there's always plenty of floats to work on, and it's just a wonderful experience. I can't recommend it enough. You're in Pasadena, so you got beautiful weather, and it's just a great experience. I can't recommend enough. Our own Randy Pote is the head of it next year, so there won't be any problem if you actually wanted to go and get in. It's not the cachet that you actually think it is. As I say, they really need helping hands. So if you all guys wanted to consider it next year, I highly recommend it. It's a really fun experience.
Great. Thank you, Kathy. Appreciate that. The other thing is I did get an email about Flower Power. Now, those of you who don't know what Flower Power is after the end of the Home and Garden Show, what we do, along with a few other Rotary groups, is go in, take the flowers, and then we deliver them to homes for seniors. I'm not sure which homes that I haven't actually been, so I know, Diana, that you've done it. So this is on March 1st, and if we're going to do this, we need a champion. And I know Mary Alice would love to do it. See? You just ask, and you will receive. All right. I will give you that email. And thank you, Mary Alice. And just put down March 1st as another potential, well, not potential, but another date for some volunteer work.
So, so to get Mary Alice started on this, it's really a fun event because you can go and see the show for free before you pack up the flowers. So you can come, a couple hours before the end of the show, and then you get to see everything for free. So it's really kind of fun to do that. So just keep it in mind.
And if you haven't been to anything yet as far as volunteer work, This is a great opportunity. It's a one-time thing. You get to be with a lot of your peers and just having a lot of fun. So at least that's what people tell me. You know. Yes.
Is March 1st a Sunday when you pack the flowers, or is March 1st?
Oh, it's probably the Sunday, yeah, because that's the last day of the Home and Garden Show. Is the delivery? Yes. So, and Mary Alice will have more of that later. Now, I want to let you know that you have not received anything about dues yet because we are still in conference with Embassy Suites. I have solidified a lot of things. I think everyone will be very happy, but I am bringing it up to the board tomorrow, and then next week we will let you know what's going on. But we have a really good solution, and again, I think it's a fabulous thing that's coming up. There's going to be some changes, but I think it's really good for everybody. So I just want to kind of let you know that. And then, Randy, I saw your hand.
We have a social coming up. This is an easy social. Saturday, January 18th. We're just doing a happy hour at 1UP, which is just up the street by Target, across the street from the Restaurant Depot. If you have not been to 1UP, it is great for kids and adults because it's all the video games that I grew up playing back in the 80s. Everything's like 25 cents as far as video games are concerned. But it's pretty fun. In any case, it's going to be from 4:30 to 6 or however long you feel like staying at 1UP on January 18th. I'm going to send around a sign up just so we have a ballpark of people to come, but hope you can be there.
Okay. Great. Thank you, Randy. Do we have any other social stuff coming up?
We are also on February 29th going to reinstate our annual bowling event. John Barry, Karen tells me, has the trophy, and it will be a traveling trophy. So bring your A game. We'll probably do it mid-afternoon on the 29th. I think that's a Saturday. It's leap day, so, free day. Might as well do something fun. I'm sure you didn't have anything else planned. Kids, certainly, families are welcome. Anything you are thinking of, we'll do it at Celebrity Lanes. I don't have any other details, cost, or anything like that. It's usually about $20 a person, hopefully. So we'll try to get that done. Thanks.
All for you, Chisco? Yes. I don't want to call it memorial. No, not memorial.
And before moving on to travel gifts, I want to just thank everyone, Deb especially, for what you did at the holiday party and the auction and setting up and everything. Everyone that participated, even John Peterson, he was there. He helped run all of the credit cards afterwards. So thank you, and of course Barb for doing all of the treasury stuff. I just thank everyone that was there. I had a good time. I hope everyone else did as well. Phil?
How much did we make?
It was just under 3,000.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mary Alice?
I just want to bring everybody up to date on what's going on with Primetimers right now. Can you hear this?
I can.
Yesterday we had our first joint game day with the city, and we're trying this out for 3 months to see if we like it. It is at Coble Library, and we had a good turnout from Primetimers there, and also a good turnout from the people that got the information through the library system. So we had probably 25 people maybe. We didn't get a really good count. Some people didn't sign in, so I'm not positive as to the count from the general public. But the librarians were there to kind of facilitate. And it seems promising because of the turnout. And we also got some good sign-ups from these extra people for the luncheon that we sponsor next week. So
great.
Bringing Up Baby. Katharine Hepburn, Cary Grant.
So it's not the modern version. Do we have any other business? No? Any other business announcements? Ann?
I'm going to ask John Holtzman to stand up and tell about the new place at Meals on Wheels. Oh. Because he was there. I had expected to go on Friday because no one had signed up, and I sent out a note to all of my team, and he ended up signing up, and he did get to see the new place that Meals on Wheels is on, so I thought he could talk about it.
Okay. Yeah, it's I forget the name of what the restaurant used to be. Las Delicias, yes. On the corner of Arapahoe and Broadway. Very convenient. I was a little disturbed that nobody really told me, okay, this is what you do, here's where you go. But it's wide open and friendly and clean, and again, really easy access for both getting there and getting up to our location where we deliver. So, I mean, probably the travel time alone. One of the things that I love about doing Meals on Wheels is I get to meet other people from the club and we get to talk. But that talking time got reduced because we're not in the car so long. But, anyway.
Positives and negatives, right? Deb, did you have another thing?
Oh, yeah, I just wanted to say a big thank you, especially to John Peterson and Kieran and Tim. We all had a really good time ringing bells for the Salvation Army. And John, in his infinite wisdom, scared a few kids off, but, he came dressed as Santa. So we had a really good time, and the manager of King Supers was really kind of a Grinch and wouldn't let Gordon and I play our guitars, but anyway, because we'd be blocking some of the things they were trying to sell. Now, it got to be a game because some of the things that they were trying to sell, nobody was buying. But anyway, I hope that more people can do it next year because it really is fun.
Great. Thank you. Karen, did you have one more thing?
I just wanted to ask you, was Justin there still? So this little kid that works at the Meals on Wheels, not little kid, young man, I guess, that works on Meals on Wheels. I kind of have a fun story with that. So John and I went down to Colorado Springs this summer for an air show, and I saw this kid standing there. I'm like, where do I know him from? And I finally figured out it was Meals on Wheels. So I went to introduce myself and said, hey, you remember me? I do Meals on Wheels once in a while. His dad was so excited. He said, you wouldn't believe how many people he knows from Meals on Wheels. Whenever we go somewhere, somebody's always like, oh, Justin, nice to see you. And so they had to take a picture of him with me because they photograph all the times that they meet people, but it was really kind of fun. So if you haven't done Meals on Wheels, you should do it. It's really a fun experience.
Great, thanks, Karen. So, if we don't have any other business, we have travel gifts. Does anyone go anywhere on vacation? Kathy? Did you bring back a float? At least a decoration?
Rob Johnson told me about to go to the Huntington, and I can't thank him enough for doing it. If anybody ever goes to Pasadena, it's like 8 different gardens in one, plus a library that's the second to the Library of Congress as far as a research library. Wow. It's a mansion. It's just the most wonderful place. And they even had a float in the parade decorated for it. So since we have a new law coming in Denver about needing your shopping bag, so I got us a shopping bag from the Huntington. Also got, staying with our theme of coasters, these are car coasters. I thought these are really cool from the Huntington. And then my favorite is the under the table cocktail guide. So it tells you all different wonderful cocktails, old and new. And that's what I brought back from Pasadena.
Great. Sold. Trip.
Trip, were you gone? I know you didn't notice, but I was gone briefly. I went to the Bahamas, if you can believe that. Good fortune. But I brought back, a cute I think it's cute. Soap, sponge and soap dish type thing from the blue hole. If you guys get to, oh my God, it's just crazy that is like one of the 2 deepest spots you can dive or do all that stuff. I think the deepest one is Bailey's, I think. Yeah, this one's.
So Trip, I'm glad this one's not breakable because your gift at the auction, I don't know if anyone saw it, but Jay Weber got his gift, and it's a salt and pepper shaker like Santa going down the chimney, and it's fragile, and he's like, I don't know if I should pack this in my bag or not. So I think Jay will look forward to that next year, just saying.
Did you get that when you were sick?
Yeah, no, that was right. I was sick subsequently and before, but
Do we have any other travel gifts?
Who's collecting them this year?
Good question.
It's not going to be me much longer. It should be Diane.
Yeah, it should be Diane.
Diane Zing. No.
Did I just take 2?
No.
Oh.
We'll have to bring them to me, and I'll figure it out. Yeah. Any other travel gifts? Thank you. No? All right. So, Ann West, we have Happy Buck. So hopefully you guys would be a little bit more lively. I don't know, it's a little...
First meeting of the year.
I'm ready to fall asleep on my own.
Yeah, we're falling asleep here.
Yeah.
And we're still asleep. I said we're still asleep.
We're still asleep, huh? Okay, Trip.
I have $1 because Alan Jackson was at the event at Burlington, and he would love to be here. He's in between a rock and a hard place, but it's man, if you guys see him or talk to him, make sure he knows that we miss him.
I have 2. The first, I know you've been waiting for this, NASCAR countdown. 40 days to Daytona 500, so just want to let you know. So it's the countdown. The second Happy Buck is on Monday, my son Andrew leaves for basic training at Fort Jackson in South Carolina because he joined the Army Reserves. So he's headed there, and then from there he goes to Fort Gordon in Georgia for AIT, which is Advanced Individualized Training, to do his job training for the job he'll be doing for the reserves once he gets back. So he'll be gone until probably July. I guess that's a good thing.
Anybody else? Oh, here we have. All right, David.
2 Happy Bucks. Too long a story to tell, but we have what are the equivalent of was 1, now 2 adopted grandchildren who live in Montreal, friends from China. It's now 2 because the new baby was born on Christmas morning.
Oh, the poor kid will never have both birthday and Christmas gifts.
She's Chinese Canadian. She won't know about it anyways.
All right. Barbara.
I have 1 Happy Buck for Tom and his wife. They did a really good job of organizing everything. You would think you'd done the backpack stuff because you did a really good job.
She's the one. Anybody else here? Oh, I missed Kathy, who was right next door to me.
Just happy.
She's just happy, she said. How about over here? There we are, John Bellum, 3 years with the club. Almost.
Year and a half. 2 Happy Bucks. I was in another club, but wasn't as good. No, it wasn't as good.
The better club.
Absolutely, yeah. 2 bucks. 1 for our guest, Maury Dean, who we'll learn more about him and Centura Health here in a little bit, and then 1 just for family. Got to spend 4 or 5 days with my family back in Nebraska, and got an awesome cold from it. So that's great.
All right, you guys know? You'll just pitch it in, huh? 10.
I have 5. 1, again, thanks to Tom for organizing everything. Picking Friday night. At first, I was like, why Friday night? That was a real pain in the butt. But Burlington Coat Factory is empty on Friday night, so that helped a lot. And the people there were awesome. Second, Happy New Year, everybody. Third, my mom had a knee replacement, and things are going well with that. She swore last time she would never, ever, ever do it again. But I think this is much better. And last one for our guests. Thank you.
Yeah. Nope. Okay.
I have 52 for the new year. I've never been a New Year kind of person. I don't make special commitments or anything like that. New Year's comes, the old year goes, and it's kind of like. But this year is special. I feel like there's been spiritual transformation and new opportunities, and I'm excited for what's coming.
Good. I'm one of those people who slept in when the millennium changed. Anybody else? All right, Andres has 3.
I have 3. The first one is so many things to be thankful for, and you guys are one of them, so that one's for the club. It's awesome to be part of this group. The second one is because college basketball season is in full swing. Go Duke. That's mandatory. And the last one is a bragging buck. My youngest son, well, for those of you that know me from 12 years ago when we started the club, you may remember my little son was 2 years old. He's going into high school next year. And we just received his entrance exam scores, and he obviously took after his mommy. He scored in the 96th percentile nationwide, so really happy.
Super duper. Eric?
I have 2. The first one is to the Air Force Academy football team. Finished 11-2 this year with a butt whooping of Washington State. So that's 2 Pac-12 teams that they beat this year, and they'll probably finish in the top 20. Second one is I got to give it up to my wife, the new founder and president of the Camp Kiki Christmas Day Ski Camp. My daughter Ashley went from starting out on greens at Thanksgiving to finally, after 7 trips up the mountain, was skiing the blacks at Vail and Beaver Creek. So there's mine.
Is that a free camp?
Yeah, yes, it is. Yes, it is. My dollar is just for a great time with Eric's daughters. It's been a magical transformation over the past couple years, and I had to put back my youth leader hat with my youngest as she wanted to be first down the mountain, and I finally said, "Enough! You're skiing so fast, you're freaking me out. So you have to stay behind me." And she actually did, but it was awesome. So just great time with the family finally.
All right. Doc?
All right, I have 6 because the New Orleans Saints they lost to the Vikings by 6 points. I don't know if anyone caught that game. Sorry, again. No,
Top of my list right there.
And Tim, it's on, Tim. Thank you very. So I predict, Tim. I predict 24-17 Vikings.
Yeah. I got another slide here just in case you're sure. So, you ready?
I'm ready.
Yeah.
Is this where they cheated?
Stand by.
It's the drone.
It must have been where they cheated.
No, we thought that was a great throw.
Real village has been listed
Ready.
U.S. intelligence service.
How many Vikings did it take to win the Super Bowl?
The Coke will be back because we beat the Niners.
Is that a threat?
Burn all your eyes.
That's funny.
All right. Doug?
Oh, I'm just happy. Had a nice holiday, and it's nice to be back with the Rotary Club.
All right.
Joseph.
Phil?
Have $1 for Ben, my guest, and hopefully he'll come back again.
And join. Where do you live? Yep, you got to join.
Okay, I have 5 for our guest, Ben. Thank you to everyone who came out last Friday night to shop. Really appreciate it. I want to thank my wife, not here, but she has put hours into this project and went through all those bags again. So thank you for that. And also very happy that the Patriots dynasty is over.
Yes. That was the other good surprise. Over here?
My happy buck is a big thank you to Tom and his wife for Friday night shopping for the Jackets with Books project. And I think I finally got it right on one of the posts. I think I've got boots and jackets and something else. So, but I think everybody got the idea.
Something with books and jackets.
Mark? No? Okay. Not happy at all. All right. Diana.
So I've got 2. The first one is from me. I'm happy to be celebrating my 3rd anniversary. Thank you so much for reminding me. The second is from my husband, Ken. He wants to thank all of you guys for reinstating the Tuesday meetings because he was pretty tired of me bossing him around on Tuesday mornings for 2 weeks. So he said thank you.
Do I get that?
Yeah.
I misunderstood.
My happy buck is just to say thanks to all the Primetimer committee people who turned out to help support us yesterday.
Okay.
This is a look back to thank those that were very involved in the Christmas party, the holiday party. Thank you so very much. It was just a lovely event. And Phil, thanks for arranging the location.
Great spot.
I have 2. One is just a Happy New Year to everybody. And don't gloat too soon, Scott. And today I am ordering a new CNC router for my business.
Okay.
I have 3. First one is for Lori Gross, Tom Gross, and everyone who came to the event on Friday. It was a lot of fun. And then one's for Mary Alice, and what a great job she's doing with Prime Timers. I don't think you mentioned that we had a reporter there from the Centennial Citizen. So therefore, I'm hoping there'll be an article about the Prime Timers soon and maybe grow the club a little bit. And then I have one for my friend John Peterson. He arranged for those buckets that we all drilled and put stickers on to go to Puerto Rico. Yay. And also we are about to have a facility filter put into the Children's Rehabilitation Center there. So we're very excited about that.
Yeah? Yeah. There you go.
Okay, I have a happy buck. That my wife was taken out of the ICU, which was there for a week. She was supposed to be there for a day. And then they nicked a valuable organ and put her back in the hospital. And she'll be there 2 weeks so far. So far.
She's still there? Okay. Did I miss anybody? Except you. Just a minute. I'm going to put in $1 because this last weekend I went to, keep this in mind, men, your women will enjoy this, Romantic River Song Inn outside of Estes Park. This is the second time we've been there. Breakfast is included. Snowshoes are included, which we liked. We didn't have to go hunting for them. So I'm going to put $1 in for our anniversary.
Okay. And I'm going to need a IOU. I'm going to do $5. Okay. Yeah. So just thank you to everyone that has done so much over the last 6 months. I have 6 more months to go, so you're going to have some changes. I might even bring in some music because I don't know if we have any more meetings like this. I'm going to leave because it's really just kind of boring. So see? Now, we're going to have a lot more fun and do some great things are coming our way, and I'm looking forward to them. So just thank you for everyone who has helped so far and the things that we're going to do. Just open-minded, just a lot of excitement, and it's really coming. I kind of want to piggyback off of John Holtzman. You talked about kind of a spiritual opening and something about transformation. Every year I pick a word that symbolizes what my upcoming year is going to be for me. This year I picked transform. And Catherine said it too, so it was just very interesting that there's a lot of synchronicity as far as what that word is for me. So thank you for saying that. That's just a confirmation to me. So $1 for that. I want to thank our speaker for coming. I look forward to hearing what you have to say. And thank you, Ben, for coming as well. And just thank you for being you guys and everything that you do. I'm blessed to be part of this. So I think that's 5. So with that, John, do you want to introduce our speaker today?
Absolutely. Well, thank you, folks. It's my pleasure to introduce Maury Dean. He's the Senior Vice President and Chief Integration Officer at Centura Health. Now, Centura, as you'll see, is a rather large healthcare provider, but their headquarters is actually in Centennial. And so as part of our speakers, we always try to have a Centennial business. This month you get 2 of them. One of them's kind of statewide, but just happened to be that way. Yeah, well, and so we've got him here. I kind of have a soft spot for Centura Health, and that's because my daughter was born at Littleton Adventist, and my wife went through some rather major cancer surgery at Adventist, and at both times we had incredible service at that hospital, and so I think it's just a nice facility. And finally, he is in addition to what he's currently doing at Centura Health, he is a former CEO of 2 hospitals out west and is a recovering Rotarian. So with that, so what I'm saying, Tripp, you don't need to just jump in on that one. He's like, give him some space. Anyhow, with that, Maury, please, thank you.
Thank you, John. I appreciate the thoughts. Before I start, I can't let that Minnesota Vikings slide go by without... My dad grew up in Minnesota. And people say, is he a Vikings fan? Long Lake, Minnesota.
I graduated from Orono.
There you go.
I lived in Long Lake. I graduated from Minnesota.
So it's a little bit of all these Minnesotans. Yeah. So the joke is, it's not even a question. It's I wasn't even alive the last time the Vikings won a Super Bowl. In fact, nobody was. But people ask my dad, are you a Vikings fan? And my dad's like, I graduated high school in '60. So anybody that knows the NFL history knows that in 1960 is when they actually got the franchise. He was a Green Bay fan growing up. Then he made the wisest decision of his life, and he came to Colorado in 1962 and gave my brother and I the greatest gift, I tell people, that we could have had from our parents, and that's the opportunity to grow up in Colorado. So a little bit about me before I jump into Centura and quit ripping on the Vikings. I want to editorialize on so much that's been going on this morning. You know, when people say it's the end of a dynasty, yeah, would you like me to be at the podium? Over by the podium. Sure. Thank you. When people say it's the end of a dynasty, it always worries me a little bit because I think they said that a couple times about Tom Brady and the Patriots. And I am a huge Broncos fan. So when people ask me, do you like the Broncos? What other sports do you like? Anything Colorado is basically, so when you say Air Force, love CU. CSU, I haven't had a lot to love about them, but you know, we're waiting patiently. But all things Colorado, and the good thing about the Avs is you pretty much can guarantee a victory, unless you go like I did the other night and they lose to Winnipeg. Shortly after they beat St. Louis, the defending Stanley Cup champions. So that is what it is, right? So real quick about me, I grew up in Denver. I was born at Porter Adventist Hospital, actually in 1968. My mom was a switchboard operator and admitting clerk there, and my dad was a bricklayer. And 24 years after he came to Denver and started laying brick, he got into trucking. And we grew up on a house in South Corona Street our whole entire life. So my dad still lives there, and I came back after grad school, thought I'd live here the rest of my life. But there's a couple things that you sometimes make mistakes about, and that's the power of in-laws and the power of saying, well, about the only reason I'd ever move to Walla Walla, Washington is if I was offered the CEO job of their hospital. And so I was 30 years old and I got a call, and I was at that time working at Porter and Littleton Adventist Hospitals in the late 90s. And I got a call from a system out on the West Coast. Would you come be our CEO in Walla Walla, Washington? And it just happens to be where my in-laws live. And we had a 3-year-old and a newborn. And I just could not think of passing by the opportunity to let my kids grow up by their grandparents. My dad got a little bit of them, and we knew that someday they'd get more of them. So we spent 7 years in Walla Walla, 5 years in LA. And I know Pasadena really well because I was the CEO of a hospital in Glendale, which is the city right beside Pasadena. So been to the Huntington. One of my really good friends actually owns a restaurant on Colorado Boulevard called Mi Piace, if you're ever in Pasadena. It's a phenomenal restaurant. 5 great years. I tell people I probably wouldn't have come back to Colorado because I did actually love living in Los Angeles. We had the best of what LA has to offer. I didn't have a commute. We were able to afford a home. My kids, we could hike right out the back door, and there was a lot of good. But the pull of Colorado and the opportunity to raise our kids here was always something that we really wanted to do. And so in 2011, I got the chance to come back and be the CEO at Parker Adventist Hospital. And my son got to go through all his high school years here, my daughter junior high and high school. And one of them's already through college now, and one's a sophomore in college. And so we've been back since 2011. And the last 3 years, I was the CEO at Porter and over the group of hospitals here in South Denver, which I'll talk a little bit about since it's more pertinent to this group. But so the last 2 years, I've been working at Centura at our corporate office, working mainly on integration, which is basically everything around growth opportunities. How do we develop and integrate opportunities to continue to grow our system? So I'll talk a little bit about that. Let me talk about Centura specifically. We call ourselves a connected ecosystem. We like to believe that healthcare is better where we're at. And I can give you specific examples of that, like Frisco. There was not a hospital in Frisco when I was growing up. We obviously have St. Anthony Summit Medical Center up there, and some really good things happen in that location. In South Denver, when I was growing up, Porter and Swedish were the only 2 hospitals. And now that I mentioned Swedish, I know Ben is here from HCA. I always, anytime I speak in public, I want to just acknowledge the fact that there are some really great healthcare facilities in this town and in this state. And anything I say is not meant to say Centura is better than. We're just blessed by the fact that we have really, really good health care here in this community. And none of us do it perfectly. But the reality is that if you look at places that I've been in my life, Denver in Colorado is really blessed with some great systems like HCA Health One, Centura Health, the university, et cetera. So we like to consider ourselves a connected ecosystem where we're looking at how we take care of patients, not transactionally, but from a whole person perspective. So what does it look like to be treated in rural communities, in urban communities? How do our systems connect together so that if you're a cardiac patient in Denver or a cardiac patient in Hugo, Colorado, your care is optimized for you? So a lot of the stats, basically 17 hospitals, 21,000 employees, obviously a very large employer here in Centennial. And we do view our role as a Christian not-for-profit health system a lot in the economic realm. what we do is much more than just care for people. We try to care for 21,000 caregivers and our physicians and their families and their communities. And so you'll hear me talk a little bit about brand, but it's really important for us to understand the impact that we make beyond just taking care of people in a healthcare setting. We're an economic engine, obviously, that employs a lot of people that are important to this community. And so that's something that we believe health is better where we're at, and our communities are better where we employ people that live and work in those communities. So let me just give you the quick snapshot of 1996. Healthcare was not really aggregated as large systems. In fact, there were, at that time, 3 Adventist hospitals. There was a Vista Adventist Hospital, which is technically our oldest Adventist hospital. Came out of Boulder from the late 1890s. Porter Adventist Hospital, which was funded by Henry Porter, a prominent Denver businessman in 1930. And then Littleton Adventist Hospital was built in 1989. So the Adventists and the Catholics got together and said, let's do something that everybody says is kind of crazy, and actually pull together a health system. Focus on the 95% of things we agree upon, and not on the 5% of things we don't agree upon. So anybody that's Catholic or Adventist in the audience would know the things that we don't agree upon, Catholics and Adventists, are what day of the week to worship on, whether pork is good or bad, and whether the Pope has a prominent place in religion. I can go on and on, but there's very few things when you really get down to it about what we disagree upon. And there's a lot actually in the healthcare space that we do agree upon. Compassionate care, taking care of the whole person, building flourishing communities. All those types of things are what we decided to focus on and say, we can pull together a health system. And these are the subsequent sponsors, Advent Health and Catholic Health Initiatives, which is now Common Spirit Health. They don't have new logo or everything yet, but I can answer any questions about that if you have questions. 1996, we formed a joint operating agreement where the assets of those 2 sponsors are basically managed by my company, Centura Health. So I say my company, the company I work for. Centura Health basically owns 0 hospitals, runs 17 hospitals for those 2 sponsors. Does that make sense? It's actually a very unique arrangement. There's very few in the United States that are built like this. There's more and more because of our success. But the FTC has a lot to say about joint operating agreements. You have to be very careful about how you structure that. So the Federal Trade Commission, from an antitrust perspective, will not just say to you, yes, you can come together, leverage the market for better rates, but act like basically a shell corporation for your 2 owners. Okay, so we have to basically at Centura Health make decisions. What IT system are we going to go with? We make that decision. We don't go to the sponsors and say, which IT system would you like us to go with? We're going to outsource our revenue cycle, okay? We don't go to one of those sponsors and say, would you do that for us? We actually go out and probably do an RFP and do that decision ourselves. A lot of times those decisions do line up, like our group purchasing supply initiatives line up with our sponsors, but they can't be dictated by the sponsors, if that makes sense. So Advent Health, real quick, is about 50 hospitals, mainly based in the southeast portion of the United States, Florida, Texas, Georgia, North Carolina. Catholic Health Initiatives is primarily in the central part of the United States, headquartered actually historically here in Denver. They have just recently created an agreement with Dignity Health on the West Coast, so that will create the largest Catholic healthcare system in the United States. So those 2 sponsors own Centura Health and govern the board of our organization. Any questions on that? Yeah.
A question. Are you allowed to share data? Like, so as you're negotiating insurance rates or as you're trying to do population health, are you allowed to commingle data, or do they have to stay separate?
Yeah, so Centura Health has our own contracting department. We don't go to the sponsors to help us. There's not a lot of contracts that are done on a national basis because of the state insurance laws. Right? The way we do insurance is state by state. And so Centura negotiates in Colorado and Kansas with the insurance companies directly. We don't go to our sponsors.
So you're allowed to commingle patient population information and do your own analytics.
I wouldn't say it's commingling. It's all of Centura's patients.
Okay.
Yeah. So these are silent sponsors, silent owners of assets that we run an operating company around. So basically, the way that we've structured the joint operating agreement is, from a financial perspective, we have owners. We actually flow our income back to those owners and capitalize back from those owners, but they're silent relative to how they approach the market, and they are silent relative to their brand in the market. Does that make sense? Yeah.
So I had made a comment where I assumed that you were national, and your map was only Colorado, but now you're talking about these national. Are you just a portion? Do they have other joint operating agreements with other states or areas?
Yes, there's actually, Advent Health has a joint operating agreement in the Chicago market called Amita Health. They have one in the Texas market. All those are based on the success that they had in the Colorado market. But most of their hospitals are wholly owned. Like if you go down to Orlando, the largest Medicare provider in the United States is Florida Hospital, owned by Advent Health. Yeah, and just to make sure everybody's clear, Christian not-for-profit healthcare, at the end of the day, nobody owns these hospitals, is my take on it. People can say, well, the Adventist Church owns those hospitals. But if we liquidated Littleton Adventist Hospital tomorrow, the community has a stake in that entity to such a degree that they would have the ability to say to whoever's overseeing that sale, no, that asset was built on the back of this community. And similar to when Health One sold to HCA, their 50% had to set up the Colorado Health Foundation and basically, for the good of the community, pour philanthropic dollars into that foundation. So I always tell people the communities own these assets, but in reality, there is an owner. But if you liquidated it, that owner doesn't take that money probably.
So you're a 501c3?
Yes. Wow. 501c3. It's one thing I love, not to disparage anybody doing it differently. I think Christian not-for-profit healthcare is the best system, just from the perspective that we don't have to answer to anybody at the end of the day about shareholder wealth, about return on investment. We obviously want to run these things profitably. We want to pour our earnings back into our assets so that we have better opportunities to serve our markets. But at the end of the day, there's no Wall Street saying, so what's the return from Centura Health? And I can talk more and more about that, but that's why I'm passionate about it. That's why I've devoted my life to it, is I think it's a model that actually works really well. Yeah, question?
You said that you have, as Centura Health, you have the decision to make things like IT systems.
Yeah.
Same thing for medical records?
Yes.
And I'm assuming, have you seen some synergies in that in terms of cost savings for a unified medical record system?
Yeah, absolutely. So we went recently in the last few years with Epic, which is electronic health record, switched off of our Meditech system. Most people are on Epic in this market, HCA being probably the one that's not, but Children's Hospital, University, Centura Health, SCL, all on Epic. So Epic and Cerner are your two biggest players in the IT space. I worked with Cerner on the West Coast, but Epic is our choice right now here. And, there's electronic health records are not the holy grail. They don't solve everything. And in fact, I think a lot of times they get in our way of providing good care, just from the perspective of it's not at the end of the day about the data, it's about the patient. And if the data is getting in the way of taking care of patients the right way, I think sometimes that's a nemesis for us. But obviously, electronic health records are important from a portability perspective, from a historical perspective, and hopefully from an efficiency perspective. So real quick, our mission statement is really, like I said, around a sacred calling, extending the healing ministry of somebody we believe that walked the earth, that demonstrated compassion to others. We do that in two ways: caring for those who are ill and nurturing the health of the people in our communities. We have our values, which are compassion, respect, integrity, spirituality, stewardship, imagination, and excellence. I could do a whole talk on that for you, but I won't. And then we've changed our vision in the last 2 years. Every community, every neighborhood, every life we touch, whole and healthy. And those are really powerful words just from the perspective of the person in front of us. We want to take care of them, but we also want to take care of our communities, as I said earlier. Our aspirations are to be the system of choice, to have high-performing whole person care, and to be physician-facing, which is a term we use. It's not physician-centric, it's not physician-friendly, it's facing. So I like to just highlight this because I think it's important for people to understand. Physicians are what I call the quarterback of our clinical teams. So in a football team, even the Vikings, you need 11 players on the field. And all of them are important. If you have 10 versus 11, you probably aren't going to be successful. So all 11 are important. But there's one person who kind of receives the play, gets the play started, can audible at the line of scrimmage, and that's the quarterback. So I like to look at the quarterback. Anybody not like football? I always ask that question because there's some people. I had an employee come up to me one time saying, "Maury, I hate football." I said, "I'm sorry, I use so many football analogies. That's just terrible. I need to stop doing that." But yeah, he or she is really the quarterback of the team. So physician-facing is much like a relationship or a marriage, where you would be. I had a friend that they had twins, and him and his wife were like, "Wow, we have twins. What are we going to do?" And they faced each other and they said, "We have got to be in this together, because there is no way those two are going to get everything they need unless we're together." And so that's facing. Physician-facing would be our health system really facing physicians and figuring out how to partner to make success for those twins or whatever we're working on.
Do you feel this is an incremental step to national health care because of your size and other organizations?
I want to talk about that. Can I hold that question? I actually have something on the public option that I'll finish on. Real quick, we rebranded over the last 2 years. We went to our people and we said, "What makes Centura different?" And they said, "It's us." And a lot of what I just said, I think, plays into that. People who resonate with the fact that we can be incredible, we can do this because we believe in compassion and respect and all the things that I talked about. And we can build flourishing communities and advance whole person care. Healthcare has become very transactional, and we are guilty of that as well. If it can be about the person and their journey versus their symptom or their diagnoses. One of my favorite examples is when you go upstairs to room 4213, you are seeing Mrs. Jones, and her care should be different than Mr. Smith, even though they're both having a knee replacement. Because they're different people, they have different support systems, they have different belief systems. And so we need to tailor that care. That's what whole person care is really about, is understanding people's mental, physical, and spiritual needs and trying to accommodate that through your care delivery. So real quick, I'm just going to go over these real quick since they're in South Denver. We have 17 hospitals, but I just highlighted the ones in South Denver. Littleton Adventist Hospital has been mentioned. My family's had surgery there. I've worked at that hospital in my career as an interim CEO and as a vice president site administrator. Just a great level 2 trauma center, great neurosciences program, very powerful healthcare provider in our community since 1989. Ortho Colorado is something that you may have exposure to. This is the only physician-owned hospital in the state of Colorado because there's a moratorium. Physicians can't own hospitals right now. That happened back with the Affordable Care Act. And so Ortho Colorado is a 60-40 joint venture between Centura Health and Panorama Physicians. They are very good at orthopedic care, obviously. They do really good work around joint replacement, around orthopedic, sports medicine, etc. Parker Adventist Hospital to the southeast here. I was the CEO there from 2011 till 2015. So it has a soft place in my heart. We built that hospital in 2004. And like I said earlier, Porter was built in 1930, Littleton 1989. We built Parker in 2003 and then Castle Rock in 2013. Porter Adventist Hospital, best known for its joint replacement program with the orthopedic physicians at Colorado Joint Replacement, and its transplant program, as well as one of only 3 open heart programs in Centura Health. We've created something that we thought the market would really reward us for. We called them emergency and urgent care sites. So you'll see some of these in Meridian or in Southlands. What they were meant to do was for the market not to have to differentiate, am I having an emergency or am I having something that's an urgent issue? And that we would actually triage the patient to the appropriate spot. And so I say the market hasn't rewarded. A lot of people tell me they love it because they go, wow, I went and I needed stitches and it ended up being a few $100 bill. And it used to be thousands. The reason I say we haven't been rewarded, the payers really haven't pushed people to these urgent and emergency centers because they're worried about choice. And Colorado is a place that really values choice. And so we haven't seen the market reward a lot of the things that we feel we've put out there from a value perspective. And I would contend that probably health systems all across our state could argue that. Like, well, we built this, and it's cheaper, but we don't have people pushing and steering that way. So I can give you examples of that, but it's something I wanted to just highlight that we're still running those and hoping that they continue to gain traction because price and out-of-pocket expenses are a huge issue. We have... Highlands Ranch is still going, yeah. Not the UC Health one, but the Centura Health one is, yes. Centura Health Physician Group is our employed. We have an integrated delivery network called Colorado Health Neighborhoods, and our Flight for Life is the oldest flight program in the United States. So I really want to talk real quick about, he asked about national health care. So Colorado has a lot going on relative to our health care dynamics, especially because we had a new governor last year elected in, and he has obviously stated publicly that is one of his priorities. So I'm not here to give you a political statement. I just want to make sure you understand Centura's position, and I can speak about UC Health and HCAs and others, but the public option is something that you'll see a lot of rhetoric on in the next month or two. And it's basically Governor Polis's attempt to lower hospital prices to help advance the healthcare agenda that he set out. And that healthcare agenda is basically, we believe healthcare is too expensive, and we think that we should do something about it. So you've heard him talk about various things. Obviously, at a federal level, there's a lot of rhetoric around Medicare for all, and people have opinions about whether that's a good or a bad thing. But I want to just make sure you understand what's on the table and then what our position is relative to it. So what's on the table is that we would create a public option in the state of Colorado, and that option would be open the first year to individuals, the second year to small groups, and the third year to everyone. The timing of that will probably line up very well with Governor Polis's re-election campaign. And I don't say that from a partisan perspective. I don't think he will fail on this before his re-election is in play. So I think that the timing will line up very well, that it will probably not be, let's see how this is going, and then let's see if I can get reelected. It'll probably be, let's have it queued up and ready to go, and the jury will still be out about whether it's been good or bad before his reelection happens. That's my take on it. And I think that's smart. I actually think that's wise for him to do that. So real quick, the public option basically sets rates at that public option at a lower amount than our health systems currently garner from the third-party payers. And although it's not Medicare for all, because you're not getting paid Medicare rates, you're actually tying your reimbursement to some percentage of Medicare. Let's just, for argument's sake, say 175% of Medicare. Okay, so all of our commercial rates, in reality, would be tied to Medicare at an inflated rate, but a less inflated rate than we get right now. The reality of American healthcare is that somebody is subsidizing somebody, and it's always been that way. Now, is it fair? I'm not going to say yes. It is reality. Employer-sponsored health insurance has always offset the shortfalls in Medicare and Medicaid and uninsured. And it's probably taking too much of that, but if it doesn't, the question becomes, so then what does? Because the federal government's not going to pour more money into the Medicare program, and the Medicaid program's not going to get rich all of a sudden. So either it's some way of taxing, but it's just in a kind of a backwards kind of way. So instead of me coming to you as individual taxpayers and saying, I'm going to tax you more so that we can pay for the healthcare system, the employer-sponsored health insurance kind of offsets that cost, which has now come back to us through co-pays, deductibles, co-insurance, right? So there's a lot to this. We don't believe that this is the best solution, but we think we need to address it. And I'll just tell you real quick our position on it. We don't think that this reduces premiums for low-income consumers because they won't actually be eligible for the public option. It won't address the uninsured rate. So however many people that you hear are uninsured right now, they will still not be able to afford the public option because it's not free. They have to buy that public option. It will at some point encourage employers to drop health insurance coverage for their employees because let's just say, for argument's sake, I'm paying 200% of Medicare. The employer never pays it directly, but say that the cost of 200% of Medicare is being passed on to the employer, and now it's 175 through the public option. At a certain point, the disparity in that becomes enough that employers say, well, I can just drop my employees. They can get their insurance through the public option, which interestingly leads you down a road to a one-size-fits-none. I'm not going to say Medicare for all, but it does push people towards having less options on the insurance market. And then lastly, and this is our biggest issue, and I think this is HCA's position as well, this is being paid for by hospitals only. So the healthcare system is broke, but it is not only hospitals that have obviously benefited financially from that. The pharmaceutical companies, the payers, if you look at the payer returns, I won't disparage them too much, but they make very good money in healthcare. Aetna, Anthem, etc. If you go out and look at their financial statements, they're doing very well. So we believe healthcare in Colorado needs to have some concessions on price and on cost, but it needs to come from every player. And that's been our biggest argument all along is if you're going to do something, number one, make sure that it's equitable. And number two, make sure you pass that along to the people who are actually paying the bill. Because if I go cut my rates tomorrow at Centura Health by 10%, none of you see that. The payer actually sees that, and they actually book that profit. So when we go with something like we did up in the mountains, Peak Health Alliance, and we say we want to address cost of healthcare for our local employers, we want to cut our rates, and we want the insurance company to cut their rates as well. So that it actually gets passed on to the employers and the employees that are having that insurance. So I can talk afterwards if you have any more questions about the public option or about Governor Polis's position, but those were my comments that I want to make sure that you heard because that's going to be a hot topic over the next month. So we love what we do. We love being an employer here in Centennial, Colorado, and just appreciate the opportunity to spend a few minutes with you. Any quick questions?
What's the difference between your health system and Kaiser?
So Kaiser would not have a Christian perspective on it, obviously. They do a lot of great work. We've actually had a lot of similarities relative to how we've set up value-based care. But the reality is we've never worked with Kaiser, and that's partly because we have always believed that Kaiser, their California model was, we'll use hospitals until we're big enough, and then we'll build our own hospitals and put hospitals out of business. So in LA, for example, they actually have Kaiser hospitals. You don't use local hospitals. So we've not wanted to perpetuate that, but I would just tell you our perspective on that has matured over the last few years because there's such similarities in our two health systems and what we're trying to accomplish for our communities.
You talk about the payer. Kaiser, isn't Kaiser the insurer and the payer?
Yeah.
And who's the payer in Centura Health?
Anthem, United, Aetna, Cigna.
There is no, I can't go to take out insurance from Centura Health.
That's correct. We are not an insurance company. We work with only third-party payers.
So is that a major difference between the two? One's an insurer and payer, Kaiser?
Yeah. We've always chosen to work with the third-party payers versus compete against them. That's correct. Yeah.
So I have one last question.
Yep.
I feel very ignorant asking this question, but on the news last year they said in Colorado that we would be experiencing a decrease in our health care costs, which is true because mine went down 15% this year, and other people have reported that as well, that their health care costs for their insurance went down. What caused that, and how did that come about?
Do you have employer-sponsored health insurance?
I'm the employer.
You're the employer. Do you self-insure or do you buy it through a...
Self-insured.
Okay, so self-insured is a different game, right? Self-insured, like Centura Health, we self-insure all of our employees. We use United's network, but we actually pay the insurance, if you will. We buy our own insurance. We don't buy it through United's products. We just use their network. So if our costs go down, it's because we have less utilization of healthcare services. If I was buying that from United and we had less utilization of healthcare services, my costs would not go down because the premiums are set. Does that make sense? So the reason your premiums went down is because you had less claims hit the payroll, hit the financials of that self-insured plan.
But they said that for the whole state, and it did not say it was just because it was.
That's what Governor Polis said would happen, but I can guarantee you, for every one person that said theirs went down, 2 people went up. We still saw inflation. We saw a curbing of inflation, but we did not see it go down across the state. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Your job is not finished. So I want you to stay up here. So first of all, I want you to know that what we do is we support a local library, Little Library Field Elementary, and what we do is we put your name in this book plate, and so every time a child reads that book, they'll know that you came and presented. This is our way of thanking you, and this is just an example of what's going to go in.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. We also have one more thing. It's called a drawing.
Where's the bucket?
The bucket. Rob, do you want to come get here?
Yeah, appreciate it. You want me to draw?
So, yeah, he's going to draw.
All right. I'm taking bribes right now. Okay. You ready? 983.
How about that? All right. I've been told that we have, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We have somewhere in the neighborhood of Norfolk about $400. She always that came from a good source, right? Yeah. All right. Nice birthday here. Too bad. Well, don't put them back in. Don't hurt her.
All right. So just a reminder that tomorrow we do have a board meeting at Cottrell Printing at 7 a.m. So if you all stand up for all the things, we think, say, and do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendship?